Okay, okay. So, was that live or not? Oh, or live or not? Okay. In case something didn't go live, good morning again. We're still waiting for teams to set up with USA versus Spain, and looks like the opponents are going to hug each other, which is always great to see. USA, Team Spain, two very strong teams. Team USA doing very well yesterday in the 1v1 rounds. Team Spain are doing fantastically in the 10 on 10s in the male team, but the female 3 on 3s will be something quite different to the Spanish fighter yesterday. Fought the hard fight in 1 on 1s. Obviously, group fights and 1 on 1s are very different, whereas our 1 on 1 fights are for points. Boo hurt fights is where you put the fighter to the ground and then the fighter is out. And the name of the game is your guys stay up, their guys don't. And whatever you can do to make that happen, do it. There is very little rules. There is no stabbing, no hits to illegal zones like the groin or the neck. Otherwise, it's pretty much anything goes, folks. So if you're tuning in back at home from Spain, America, or anywhere else in the world, you are more than welcome here to Portugal, where we're going to have women's 3 on 3 first fight, USA versus Spain. Will Spain be able to cause chaos, or will USA use their greater 1 on 1 advantage and the advantage of weight of their big poleaxe lady to their advantage? And looks like we have a 3 on 3 play on the list happening here on the right flank. Teams just squaring off each other. The large American fighter wanting to use the list to that strength advantage, where obviously she can bring her weight to bear. We have seen her do so well in the poleaxe. Spanish fighters are going for slightly different tactic than the male team, and again working the list. Ooh, that's some big falchion hits coming through. That's gotta hurt. But 3 on 3s are a very tactical game, but it is very personal at the same time, because as soon as one fighter is down, there is a much greater advantage. It's very hard to win a 3 on 2 fight. Whereas in categories like 5s and 10s, if you lose a fighter, you can probably come back to it. For this, probably the first fighter to go down means the other team just has a... Oh, wow! Look at those big hits coming from the American lady. I believe they call her Ironsides, and she can certainly bring that axe to bear. American fighter there looks a little bit stunned, and two fighters go down, and now we have a 2 on 2. The Spanish fighter is taking an aggressive start. It looks like the American fighter is wanting to get stuck in that 2 on 1, where they can have a slightly superior advantage and pull the Spaniard lady off. And a Spanish fighter goes down. We now have 2 on 1 on America with Spain. Can those two girls bring down the big poleaxe lady? They don't call her Ironsides for nothing, so I'm sure she's in it to win it. No retreat, no surrender for the American fighter. Can she chuck them both, maybe make it a draw, or can she just throw them? So the Spanish fighters trying to work the legs, sap the strength of the American fighter. There is a Spanish captain there, or certainly Spanish support staff coming in behind the Spanish fighters to yell words of encouragement. Spanish people yelling Spanish things, as we have seen so in the past. Let's hope it helps. Yeah, the Spanish do it. Absolutely, that was an excellent takedown by the Spanish fighter, where the American fighter slightly overbalanced and unfortunately fell to her knees, giving this round to Spain. But like yesterday, we saw so many of these matches are so close they can get swung around, especially in the group categories where tactics do get changed up. And I do believe the American fighters do have some subs they can make, so perhaps get some fresh blood out there and cause some pain, because US is in it to win it, never give up, never surrender, as is Spain, with a fantastic performance this year from all their fighters. Team Spain has really grown by leaps and bounds in the last few years with their active recruitment, and we'd love to see some more of that action from their dubbed Kings of the Chaos yesterday in the 10 on 10. We certainly know that they like to run around behind people's lines and get up to all sorts of mischief there. And our contestants are very brave contestants who have got up quite early this morning to kit up. I didn't want to get up early this morning, I'll tell you that. But they got up early, they kitted up, they're here to fight, and it's 10 o'clock or so here in overcast Portugal. And I hope the weather is slightly sunnier wherever you are, although this is actually perfect fighting weather for our contestants, because wearing all that kit doesn't make you really warm, so nice cool weather, keeping everybody cool and chill, so it doesn't sap the stamina quite so much as some of the hot Portuguese sun we've been having recently. But it is a little bit chilly here in my ivory tower, as I sit on top of a turret and watch people beat each other up, which is absolutely fantastic. So if you're just tuning in, we've got lots more to come. We've got lots more women's 3-on-3s, and later on, stay tuned for the 16v16s. There's going to be a lot of violence there, and of course then we're going to have a very special fight of 30v30 with a New World versus the Old World, where I hope to take somebody out and go have some fun. I'll be finding out. So we had some lineup changes and some weapon changes. It looks like the large falchion was exchanged for a larger axe. A slightly different weapon, got a little bit more distance going in it. And otherwise, no personnel changes from Spain. I do believe they just have 3 fighters this year with no substitutions, which could be a little bit taxing for their strength. We have the Americans, Captain America there with his shiny helmet. He is the shiniest, therefore he is the most captain, as you've seen. And Spanish team looks absolutely ready to go. And we've got USA coming ready on the list. 2 large axes and maybe 3 large axes. Interesting weapon combinations. Let's see what they can do. Most of this might come down again to with those personal wrestling skills, because the first person to go down gives the other team a huge advantage over their opponents, leading in a 3-on-2. So obviously nobody's willing to give up any space. I do believe there's 200 weapons all around for the USA team, which is quite rare to see, but it is wonderful. Let's see if those girls can hit very hard with those axes, and we know they can. They've been training hard for this. They flew all this way to fight, and the Spanish, I assume, had a pretty lengthy drive too. For the first match, round 2, Spain versus USA. It's going to be close. Will USA be able to take it back? We'll find out. Opponents squaring off against each other. Again, Spain working the list. Something we haven't seen from them yet so far very much. Team USA, 2 people on the list and 1 people hanging behind. Again, this game is tactical and is about formations, but it is hard to blindside somebody in a 3-on-3. But American fighter gets a stick in there. Ooh, wow, wow, wow. Look at those poleaxe hits. Yeah, that's good night right there for the Spanish fighter, I'm afraid. I do not want to be in the receiving ends of those. I could hear him up here from the tower, and I think those are some nice new dents in that helmet. So USA clear has the advantage here. Oh, Spanish fighter breaks free. Can she make the advantage and blindside the American? Not quite, unfortunately. That shoulder charge didn't quite bring down the American. But here the USA can start bringing down those weapons. And, oh no, the visor of the American fighter has been opened by something that is an armor failure. And of course, if your armor fails, you get sat down because it is not safe for you to fight, leading to a technical knockout of the fighter. So we're back to 2-on-2, and it evens out for Spain. In the big wrestling match, it looks like we have 1 clinch in the far corner where it's pretty even, and in the other side, we've got a Spanish fighter holding the American fighter from the back, which is obviously slightly more advantageous. Action is a little bit more paced, going at a takeover pace. The American fighter fixing her gauntlets there, while the Spanish fighter just falchions her in the face, which is always good to see. Working the list. Oh, and the Spanish fighter goes down due to that great one-on-one wrestling technique by the American fighter. And I think the Spanish fighter is now in trouble. I would not want to be hit by any of those weapons. We're certainly seeing that poleaxe do a lot of the damage. So maybe USA can win this round back, which means that we will go to a close 3rd round. Obviously, it's not ideal for either of the teams to go to 3 rounds this early in the competition, as all this wrestling and hugging is very sapping on the strength. These girls are wearing a lot of armor this morning, and it starts to add up in terms of tiredness. Obviously, I think most of the girls also fought yesterday, so this is the second day fighting. Boom! Again, that big poleaxe coming into play right there. Working the legs, just trying to disrupt the Spanish fighter structure. So we've got a classic 2-on-1 play with a holder and a poleaxe. And Marshals are just making sure that everything is going okay there, as you can see them kneeling down, just to make sure no bits of armor fly off and that all the fighters are safe, because of course, if a piece of armor does get bashed off, you do get sat down for a technicality, for an armor fail. So American fighter trying to use that weight advantage to just crush her Spanish opponent and bring her down, but the Spanish fighter fighting very bravely on again. No retreat, no surrender. Oh no, the American fighter slips, unfortunately. And the Spanish fighter is in now much better shape. We hope she's been conserving strength, especially for this. It is extremely muddy out there on the field. That's why we've got bits of, I think, sand covering it, because it has been raining for several days. And the Spanish crowd goes absolutely wild. They're just cheering for their friend there, wanting her to bring the American giantess down. But I don't know. The American fighter will certainly have the advantage, and it looks like she's got her opponent almost a headlock. Of course, headlocks are illegal, but she can use her weight to bear. She's just using all that weight to push down on the shoulders. Well, this might look a little bit static to you, to the folks at home. Trust me, it's not. Both of the opponents are expending all their energy into each other, probing out each other's balance, seeing if they can have the advantage. And I do believe the Spanish fighter goes down and the American fighter puts it down cleanly, but it is up to the marshals to say if the American fighter has perhaps a third point of contact on the ground. And I think everything is fine. And second round goes to USA in a series of quite a lot of extraordinary events that led to this. That match could have went either way very easily at several points where we had a slip from the American fighter, we had a helmet opening from an American fighter, and we had a very surprising couple of takedowns from the Spanish. And obviously the Spanish fighter being an absolute champion and just staying up there in that 2-on-1, seeing if she could win that. What an absolute champion. Team Spain, amazing. And now we're going to third decisive round. Captain America there making the rounds of his fighters, giving good bits of advice there. He's, of course, is an ex-Marine and knows all about fightiness and tactics. I do apologize, I don't think he's an ex-Marine, he's still a Marine. See, this is what happens when I'm just stuck here by myself without Dale or Brendan to help me out, so I just end up digging big holes for myself as I comment along in sunny Portugal, Hungoversville. I do hope they will be back here for some top-notch banter, but currently it's just me. And a lot of guys in US giving the support. Of course, we've got the 16s on 16s next, that's why there are a lot of armored people all around the list watching with jubilant anticipation of the violence to come. And just again taking that much needed rest before the third round. These rounds have gotten to be quite prolonged, so I can't imagine that all the fighters are sort of starting to feel a little bit tired for this third round, but it might just come down to conditioning and being able to provide that explosive power needed to bring your opponents down round after round after round. Because third round is the round you don't expect to fight, but you absolutely have to. Again, Team US going out there with the poleaxes. You could almost mistake those ladies for being Danish. Because Team Denmark, big fans of the Danaxes. They don't call them Danaxes for nothing. Team Spain, pretty much doing more or less the same thing. They're just chilling out in the back. They're having some words with their support crew too, seeing if they can do maybe a little bit change of tactics. Because both teams absolutely have to win this round. This is for the winner. In the first fight of the women's 3-on-3. Colors of freedom being waved around there on camera, I see. Everybody's waiting for the marshals to finish their allotted time. Spanish helmets being strapped up. Already starting to have quite a good crowd here at Castle Montemor Ovelo in Portugal, as the stands are already half full, despite sort of kind of having a Sunday brunch feeling with a lot of overcast weather. And off we go, shouts USA, USA, coming from right underneath my ivory tower. And come at me, bro, says the big Polex lady. Come at me. Oh, this is very interesting. So neither side opted to go for the list, so they're just circling each other like vultures. Will they go for the center play? Because wrestling people in the center of a muddy field is much different to when you have the list, which is what we call the big fence for support. So when people use the fence or go near the fence, we call that working the list, and obviously it gives you a bit of an advantage in wrestling. Spanish fighter going a little bit forward, perhaps quite bravely because her two friends are a little bit more behind. Maybe they're trying to lure somebody from the USA team to comes towards them, but USA playing a defensive tactical game there. And there we go, there we go. They're in a national, they're in a V. They want blood. They're coming for them. And again, we've got a V versus a line. Polak's lady trying to bind up her opponent, wrestling on the list, wrestling in the middle. Spanish fighter seems to be losing her X, and she cannot take that takedown if she has lost a weapon. So, but apparently that is allowed because she did take that takedown without the axe. And we've got a lot of wrestling going on the list. Now, if the American Polak fighter can get free, she can bring that axe to bear. And the US fighter takes down the Spanish fighter. What a fantastic takedown. Unfortunately for Spain, they only have one fighter left, and the 2-on-1 is such a difficult situation for the Spanish to win, but they seem to have stuck it out in the last round, so perhaps they can make this work. And American girls are going to bring those big axes to bear, and certainly the Spanish fighter being bound up there by Ironsides, and just using all that weight advantage to throw the Spanish fighter around. And the Spanish fighter slips in the mud, and all the Spanish fighters are down. USA takes 2 rounds, Spain takes 1. USA is the first winner of the day with a women's 3-on-3. Stay tuned for more excitement. And I believe everybody's okay. Just a bit of a slip in the mud, hopefully. And yeah, hang it out, thugs and hugs. The camaraderie in the sport is amazing. Both the teams are just such friendly ladies. And go have a chat. And obviously, if you're a lady watching, or you're a guy who likes the sport and you have a girlfriend you want to support you and come along and maybe get involved, and there we go, ladies categories. Start training, start bringing on the pain. If you think you can do better, join your local club, work out, really good exercise, and then beat some people up. And the Spanish fighter is just being helped up there a little bit. Certainly I would not want to be in that 2-on-1 situation with the big American Polexes working me. Just American captain congratulating the Spanish fighter, just saying what a good job she did, trying to mitigate that 2-on-1. And I do think USA had a slight size advantage and a slight advantage in wrestling, and I hope to see more of them in the day, with them in their very shiny helmets, with the colors of freedom. And I think Team Spain will now just be getting warmed up and wanting to play that chaos game that they have been bringing along all weekend with all their fighters. So lots more to expect from both teams, but that could have gone either way, but US takes the day. And there have been shouts for one more round, but some slight confusion. In the back we had Team Quebec shouting French things, slightly different French things to what the French team was shouting, but they still shout them in French.
Please return to the list.
America, please return to the list.
Is 1 win to Spain, 1 win to the United States, and 1 tie. So we'll be going for a
apparently, the last round was declared a tie. I'm not sure, due to a technicality with the marshals who know the rules far better than I, which is why I'm up here talking over the radio / live stream, and the marshals are down there actually making the calls. My best guess would be that one of those takedowns would have been declared illegal, perhaps, or perhaps one of the American fighters touched the ground, but due to technicality, that round was probably a draw. I'm not entirely sure why, but you know what? We're going to get to see these girls fight again, which is absolutely fantastic, so I'm all happy for more fights. But round 4 is really the round you do not expect to fight, especially when you thought you've won. So Spain is certainly going to try and clinch that round away from the jaws of defeat because they thought they lost, and now they have another chance to come back. And will USA keep their advantage? USA fighters ready as ever. Spanish fighters just sorting out some gear there. Lots of fighters watching, obviously. All the teams are being supported by the compatriots, and see some of Team Poland there in the list. Chat with the dreadlocks with a pointy Polish helmet, usually with a big axe. I'm sure he wants to see some big axe hits. Marshall's waiting, sorting stuff out. Marshall's have been doing such a fantastic job all of this festival. We wouldn't be here in all pieces without them. They're there to keep us safe and to keep the game going. It is a hard and thankless job, and we love them long time. They've been doing absolutely fantastically so far. So everyone just getting kitted up. It takes quite a while to get kitted up. You know, we do appreciate all the help of our support crews and staff. We also love you. We couldn't be doing it without it. And being a medieval knightly sport there, a squire or two is always appreciated. Because it's very hard to put some bits of armor on by yourself, especially like the helmet and gloves and shields towards the end when you're walking around with all those extra kilos on you, perhaps slightly limited mobility. But do not let the armor fool you, because these fighters do move phenomenally fast in the armor. Do not let Hollywood fool you. And set for another round. Just waiting for the third Spanish fighter. The one that was lying down towards the end. I hope she's okay and didn't have an armor fail. Perhaps her armor snagged on something, but I just see her helmet being done up. And, Team USA just talking over some fine points over the rules down there. You're just waiting for everybody to get ready. It's the waiting. Waiting is actually the hardest part of the sport. Usually, you get all kitted up, you get worked up, and it's very much of a situation of like being on a movie set. Is hurry up and wait to go on that waiting, that expectation before the battle can really get people going. You know, you see a lot of people chanting, do sort of a little hacker, maybe even. I don't know, bros from New Zealand. Maybe we'll see something. Maybe we won't. They should show us their warrior dance. And round 4 in a surprise turn of events. And shots of USA and Spain going up to support the girls in this. A battle of endurance by this point almost. Who can wrestle the best? Spanish fighter doing a come at me bro back that we saw from the second round from the US. Some gesturing with the hands. There's a lot of back and forth between these fighters, I have a feeling. Down here from the camera, we don't see this much of it, but from inside the helmet, you can really look your opponent in the eyes as you go mano or womano or womano, as is the case here. And you can really start talking to your opponent, maybe throwing a bad joke here and there, try and distract them, just look them dead in the eyes and bring your axe to bear, which is obviously something we like to see. Lots of wrestling. We've got 2 pairs on the list. We've got 1 pair in the middle. So it could come down to the slippy conditions. Spanish and US fighter go down in the middle. We've got a 2-on-2. US fighter loses her weapon. Spanish fighter needs to capitalize on this advantage very quick. Can they bring down the big Pollock's lady before the American is back into the fray? Doesn't look like they could capitulate on that 2-on-1. An American fighter running back in there. So trying to do a bit of a running charge on Hispanic fighter, just powering her back to this. USA girls very strong there. Now we've got a slightly mixed up 2-on-2 where we've got 2 Spanish fighters trying to desperately take down the smaller American fighter, and the big American fighter trying to work that axe and being shut down. An American fighter goes down. The takedown from the tall Spanish lady goes down, and now we've got a very difficult 2-on-1 for the Americans. It looks like Spanish might just clinch this from the jaws of defeat. And broken up. The fight is broken up by the marshals. Stop fight. Back of the neck. Ooh. doing a little bit of a naughty there. You're not allowed to hold people on the back of the neck or wrestle in the back of the neck or hit them in the back of the neck, because you know what? Heads are attached to necks, and we want to keep it that way. Very difficult 2-1, but they don't call her Ironsides for nothing. Can the American poleaxe lady, I believe she won a medal yesterday. I believe she took the gold. Again, sorry if I'm wrong, there's been so much fighting. Lots of hits on that helmet there, but I'm sure she can take it. Doing a fantastic job of holding these two Spanish ladies, but the Spanish ladies do have the clear advantage here. And it's anybody's game. Anybody can bite the dirt, as Dale was saying yesterday. Just trying to lift those legs up. And lots of marshals around the fight. I think we've got 5 marshals trying to look down, sort of on ankle level, to see exactly what's happening. Spanish support crew shouting things. You, Captain America, they're looking resplendent, shouting things. But it is a very difficult situation for both teams, actually. It could still go either way. And that American fighter is not allowed to move. The one is on the ground. We hope that nobody hits her in the head by accident. Boom, a nice poleaxe. Certainly American fighter is alive and kicking and well. Got her legs tied up with a Spanish fighter. And it's all about maintaining that good structure and that good wrestling position. And it could be quite... this is quite difficult, so this could be a strategy for the American fighter to tire out her Spanish opponents, because she does have... but they seem to have really taken... Oh no, the Spanish fighter slips and is back to 1-on-1, and the Spanish fighters might be more tired now, and let's see who can win the day for their country. It is mano or womano, whichever term you prefer. We're all very politically correct commentators here, but certainly American fighter does have that size advantage. I think she's the biggest female fighter on the list, which she's been using to her great advantage. Oh, wow, that punch must have rattled the Spanish fighter. Spanish fighter putting up a valiant defense, but not... And everything's kind of being overshadowed by shouts of USA from the crowds as they're watching. Look, USA fighter is clearly inspired by this and just keeps on pushing the Spanish fighter back. Ooh, those punches are starting to add up. Tell you what, I got punched in the face yesterday by an Estonian gentleman, and I absolutely felt that was a good punch, and they do rattle you. So, but Spanish fighter, slightly lighter, slightly faster, playing the distance game there, sort of tapping away at her opponent. The Spanish team telling her what to do. And it appears she decided to go for the strategy of going on the list, where she can use the list for support if things go awry. If I was her, I would be perhaps tempted to go somewhere in the middle of the field where neither fighter has a particular advantage due to the muddy ground when fighting a much larger and physically more imposing opponent. But it is anybody's game. We did see the Spanish team down the American poleaxe fighter before, so anybody can eat the dirt, as Dale was saying yesterday. So it's a very exciting one-on-one, and sometimes it all just boils down to one-person fights, 1v1. So those light falchion taps, not quite rattling the American through her nice and thick, shiny armor. The shininess protects. Nice barge from the axe. Spanish fighter being pushed back. Boom, another little hook there, and then being barred there in the face. So I think the American fighter is getting a little bit more personal, because this isn't one-on-one, this isn't for points, this is who gets to bite the dust. The name of the game is throw your opponent down onto the floor, and there we go. Yeah, there we go, she got her, twisted her around, and used that weight to bear on the back of the Spanish fighter, and I think the endurance of the American fighter won out there in the day, and better wrestling technique, and USA gets the round, and it's again in a surprising turn of events. She won that 2-on-1. You don't see that very often, folks. It's not like Hollywood. Usually when you have two fighters against one, the two fighters win, because after all, we're all only human, and humans fighting humans, more humans will win. What a fantastic job there, brandishing her axe. Certainly, I think her team is absolutely pleased with her performance, and the Spanish fighters having the hugs, thugs and hugs, towards the end of the list. They've done so well. again, could have swung either way there with that 2-on-1. Well, we certainly hope to see more from them later on in the day. And I do believe now we are going to see Quebec versus Poland. Both very strong teams. Lots of medals scored in by Quebec yesterday. I mean, they have been bribing me with maple syrup candy, so I might be a little biased towards Quebec by this point. They brought 6 kilos of maple candy to bribe everybody. And Quebec girls are a very strong team this year. They took out 2 golds in the sword and board and in the longsword. So, and they're going to be fighting Team Poland, I believe, which is a very historically strong team also. I've seen Poland fight, girls fight at Battle of the Nations, and they brought the pain. There's the very angry Quebecois man brandishing his Polax flag of province of Quebec in Canada. So Team Quebec have asked us, the New Zealanders, to teach them the haka, and well, we can't quite divulge all our battle secrets yet, so for now they're just shouting French things. Got 2 Polish girls on the list, 3 Polish girls. As sort of the charge of the hugs begins. Oh man, these girls are ready to go at it. I think we're going to see a much more mobile game here rather than the tactical wrestling from both teams, because I think both of these teams would like to stay mobile and would like to run. So from the Polish team, we've got 1 Polax from, I believe, Camilla Henkelman, and 2 girls with sword and board. With Quebec, we look like we have a matched combination there, with a girl in a Mongolian armor having the Polax and going with a sword and board for the other fighters. So both teams seem to be evenly matched for size here and speed. Quebec playing very mobile game, advancing rapidly. All spreading out. We've got a pair on the list and 2 pairs in the middle. Oh, and that blind side goes down, and that is a Polish fighter out. Very, very mobile game, very different to the previous round. Such an exciting match to see, and it looks like it is a 2-on-1 for the Quebecois. Go Quebec, use that maple syrup. There we go, a sacrificial throw from Benny, the Quebec captain. Means 1 Quebecois fighter stays up, and they win the first round against Poland. What a fantastic job, Quebec. Very strong team this year for the girls and the blokes too yesterday, as we've seen. And we see Igor there, one of the marshals at the back from Quebec, not marshalling this round for obvious reasons. A lot of the fighters do marshal, but obviously we try and keep them not marshalling their own matches. They're all absolutely impartial, but you know, for reasons of not complaining, usually marshals are adjudicating matches not belonging to any of their countries. And Polska shouts are going up, and I think Poland will want to see that speed game in the second round. I do believe Quebec got the early advantage there with that a little bit of a side charge there from one of their fighters. It was very quick, so Poland is going to try and mitigate that, and again, probably keep playing them at their mobility game. We shall have a look, see at what happens, because these 3-on-3 fights do snowball quite rapidly once a fighter is lost. As I say, not much can really happen in a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1 apart from the side with a larger amount of people winning. And by larger, I do mean greater. So everybody's ready, everybody's pumped up. I think these fighters have been sort of jogging and dancing around the list. The Quebec team singing lots of songs. They really like their songs in Quebec, which is great to see. We have a fast run-up play on both of the flanks and down the middle. Again, blindside from the Quebec fighter. Oh, but both of them go down, and the Quebec captain goes down. Camilla Henkelman running in with that big axe of hers, bringing on the pain, and we've got a 2-on-1 towards Poland. Poland swinging it round in the second round. How exciting. Again, these matches are so close. Anything can happen at any point. It's anybody's game. And a Polish fighter does stay up. It does look like Camilla takes the Quebec fighter with her. So, shouts of Polska celebrating the victory in that round. But of course, it means we do go to round 3. This is a much faster fight. Quebec subbing in a fighter in and out. Of course, having subs is such a huge advantage in the sport in case you do have a fighter lost due to injury or tiredness. rotating fresh personnel in and out is hugely important. And sometimes, especially when these things go to 3 or 4 rounds, the fresher fighters do have the great advantage, as you just have to keep the mental stamina to keep fighting no matter how tired you are. Doing the little cross there, I believe, from the Polish fighter for good luck. No. Lots of running, a little bit of a crossover. The Polish are unfazed by all this running around by the Quebecois. I hope they're singing songs inside their head as they're all fighting each other. And a charge to the back, and both fighters go down, 2 on 2. And again, it's a 1-on-1 of the Quebecois captain Benny versus Poland. And who shall win this? I do believe the Quebec fighter has a slight height advantage, and she won the longsword competition yesterday, so she's probably a little bit of an experience advantage over the Polish lady. And there we go with a trip. Quebec takes round number 3, and Quebec wins. Go Quebec! Oh, look at how happy they are. The happy little, totally not Team Canada. No, they're Team Quebec, of course. Team Quebec and Team Canada are very different things. Both of them came here on dog sleighs, though, so we hope they shared the ride. And there we go. We got one of the marshals, Igor, congratulating his teammates. Team Quebec, so nice. Team Poland, so nice. The reason why my voice sounds so hoarse is combined efforts of Team Ukraine and Team Poland yesterday, so I do apologize for the state of my voice. However, I am just so excited to be here. That was an excellent match by all teams. Could have really swung anyway. Both teams very mobile, very fast, like to play that red zone in the center of the field. A lot of teams refer to the center of the field as a red zone because you never know what happens there. You don't have the help of the list. The list is your friend, so anybody could blindside anybody, and chaos reigns. And you just try and stay in your formation and not go flying. I went flying yesterday in the list. It is quite fun. I had a Italian chap be sent after me in the all-in-alls yesterday, as he sort of doubled to the back of the list and back and hit me from behind on the behest of the rest of Team New Zealand. That was fun. Thanks, guys. But meanwhile, now the marshals are just having a little bit of a chat, probably figuring out what to do next. Marshals are good like that. They know everything, and we trust them explicitly to keep us safe. So it looks like next up we have a little bit of something different, just to mix things up for you folks back at home. We've got France versus Spain 16v16, which might take just a little bit of a minute to set up here, because the larger the fights are, the obviously more fighters you need to check and get kitted up and get on the field, and then you have to count everybody, and it gets kind of hard to count past 5 for me, because as Dale said, a lot of us did have 3rd grade knocked straight out of our heads in a few hits. So 16 on 16 is the biggest category we have here at IMCF World Championships 2016. If you are tuning in, this is the channel you're watching. You're watching the Medieval Violence channel voiced by Eli at the IMCF World Championships, where we have 22 countries. Some of these countries is France and Spain, and they're going to duke it out in the largest category we have here. So a lot of people ask why you have different group categories. Obviously, we have 3 on 3, 5 on 5, 10 on 10, and 16 on 16. And we have the same size box to fight it. So all these games actually play out very differently. It is not a brawl. The more fighters you have, the more compressed they are. So yesterday we saw in 10s, where it is a very tactical game. There's lots of running around, lots of blindside from people running through the line. We'll call those guys runners, because we're very imaginative like that. So lots of runners going around trying to blindside people. It's going to be a lot harder to do that in the 16s on 16s, because we have 1.5 times as many people, and they obviously occupy more space, and there's a lot less gaps between the fighters, so this is going to be more of a compression battle. But again, so tactics do change up with the amount of fighters. So we shall see what happens in this most exciting category. Again, 16 on 16s. These are all quite impressive fights to watch. It's great to see so many fighters on the field bashing the living bejesus out of each other. Stay tuned for more violence. Team Spain, of course, kings of chaos yesterday. They really like to disrupt other people's formations, and they seem to do really well in that little red zone in the center of the list, where they just run around and cause havoc, and they seem to come out on top in those little scenes of chaos every time. So I wonder if that will be their plan here. Team France is just very classically strong, very adaptive. They've been adapting their tactics to deal with whoever may come. Uh, and French people shouting French things again. They seem to be rather big fans of that. Unlike the Quebecois people shouting Quebecois things. Do not get confused between the two, although the language is the same, almost. The Spanish fighters are now all making their way to the list to see the French opposition nice and ready. France, they're getting warmed up, doing little jigs, doing the... getting quite warm. It is a little bit chilly here today, but it actually probably works out in the fighters' favor as they don't overheat quite so much as they did in the previous days. So these are all the fighters, probably full squads for the male category of 16 versus 16. Very fun. I do hope we see a lot of crazy action here today. Again, taking a little bit of time to just get all those fighters out onto the field, and one of the Spanish fighters came to say hello. Perhaps they'll swap tabards, maybe fight for each other's side, you know. The camaraderie here has been absolutely amazing at IMCF. Everybody's just been absolutely top-notch, banterific towards each other. People help each other out. And this is such a friendly sport. People help each other out all the time. You lose a gauntlet? Yeah, sure. Like, your opponents will start taking off, asking for gear from their team because people just want to fight each other. And everybody's just super happy to beat each other up and then have a beer afterwards. That's exactly what we like to see. So here we kick off the day with our 16 versus 16 with two European nations. Both are quite closely matched, I think, in terms of skill this year. So it's certainly going to be a close one, folks. And I think they're just going. I'm not sure whether Marshall waved his flag, but they're going. So France in a blue line, a little bit staggered. Spain seems to have that center field presence there. They have more fighters concentrated in the center because they really do like to work that center list in that red zone where anything could happen. And now breaking off into lines, a little bit of a mosh pit going down in the left as a couple of Spanish fighters try to take on 3-4 Frenchmen. Lots of French being shouted, French people shouting French things. My French is terrible, but hopefully somebody on the thread can explain what they are shouting if you can hear. Perhaps Spanish people shouting Spanish things now. Again, very slow paces battle. Lots of back and forth, no decisive push. A little bit of mosh pits there on the flanks, on the left and the right. Just a little bit of fighting here and there. In the center, mostly fighters are holding. French fighter tries to make a run through. Spanish fighter being ganked on the left. There we go. There is a one-on-one in the back, and we have a Spanish fighter in the back of the French line. He downs a Frenchman, but somebody's on him almost straight away. But both fighters. Oh no! The French fighter tangles up in his comrade, and let's see if Marshall going to put him down. Lots of mosh pits down on each flanks. There we go. Everybody getting stuck in. Fantastic. That is what we like to see. Lots of running now. Spain, kings of the chaos. France, very strong team. Sort of generating into 2-on-1 on the right. Lots of French guys working, a couple of Spanish guys on the left. One-on-one going here towards the back. Sort of in a kind of almost tango-like fashion. And it is hard to say which team is coming out on top. There is, I think, just slightly more blue tunics there in the field. We've got two Spanish fighters in the center of the field. And, ooh, a blindside charge that doesn't quite work. And everybody's just piling onto each other. Fantastic to see. One-on-one right underneath me still going on. Spanish fighter jogging back because he wants a cup of coffee. No, he wants a halberd. Of course, he doesn't want a cup of coffee. He wants to hit people. We have those poleaxes coming in. Oh, nice side charge, but unfortunately the Frenchman goes down with his opponent. We've got that French poleaxe trying to work his opponents. Again, very close. Down towards me, it also brought down into 2-on-1. And I do think we are seeing more Spanish colors out on the field now. So we have almost a 2-on-1 in a lot of places. The Spanish fighter from my side is running across. two Spanish on a French guy here, and as I keep on mentioning, it's very hard to win those 2-on-1s if you're the one man left standing. Boom! Straight to the back, sacrificial throw, and now a fight is stopped because we have no. French fighter takes out a Spanish fighter and goes down with him. I think Spain wins by about 4 fighters. And it looks like I might have some help up here in the booth as Brendan is making his way up. We weren't quite sure what happened to most of Team Ireland after last night's festivities, but here he is.
I have finally resurfaced.
Yay! Now we can have some more banter rather than you just listening to the sound of my voice. Let me know what you think of the sound of my voice here on a Sunday morning as we continue the many, many festives through the season. Like us on Facebook, watch our live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. How's your morning been, Brendan?
I'm not even sure if I'm going out. I'm not getting any feedback from my headset, so...
I can hear you, it's okay. Oh. Which I'm pretty sure our viewers can hear you too. And the wires are a bit wet here and there.
And going, but... we'll make do. I think I'm going out live, and if not, well...
I think you are. I think all is well. Of course, we are stuck here on top of a tower with a lot of electrical equipment, and there's been some thunderstorms because we like to live dangerously. The teams are just resetting now for the second round of our first 16 versus 16. We do have quite a crowd here now watching all this violence.
That was an excellent round from Spain, but from both sides, it lasted quite a long time, and you get to see the action and the tactics involved in the 16 versus 16. It's a very exciting game.
It is. So again, these matches swing back and forth in the second round. So can Spain keep that advantage as kings of the chaos, or will France take back the day? Obviously, there's been probably substitutions on the field. I see some fighters chilling out there in the back with the French, and the French are ready to go.
And what can often happen in these fights, the final tally of fighters left up on one side can be a bit deceptive. And I'm not sure how many of the Spaniards were still up, but there was quite a number of them. But it doesn't take much for a fight to swing in one direction, even though it can be very evenly matched right up until a certain point, and then suddenly
absolutely
one side
could
gets
take
an advantage, and then the other team go.
It's all about working those local advantages, creating those 2-on-1 situations or charging people from behind to get those easy scores and easy takedowns from the opponents. You don't want to play a wrestling battle 1-on-1 because it is very 50-50. We're all human after all, and if a human fights a human, it's very coin flippy half the time unless one of the fighters is supremely experienced, but it's anybody's game and anything could happen. You really want to maximize the advantage for your team, that you work together and work to your strengths and sort of buddy up to pick on a poor person and just make their day suck.
Yeah. And especially in these bigger fights, the ability of an individual fighter doesn't matter quite as much as the ability of the team as a whole to operate.
It's more of the,
together.
or rather the abilities of individual fighters are very different. We have the positional ability of the fighter probably counts for more than the individual fighting strength, because if anybody hits you from behind, you're gonna feel it. And
both teams more or less lining up in a single line. The French seem to be keeping a few behind.
Yeah, it's a bit more Spanish. No, the Spanish are very even. They're trying to have more people towards the list this time. We have about 5 on each side near the list, and 6 in the middle.
Slippery surface, sticking to that list is probably a good idea.
Absolutely, it is the safer play, but we have seen the Spanish do great work in the middle of the field.
Generally, the Spanish have excellent footwork.
Oh, there we go. A charge through, and he's tripped.
That was Martin Garcia taking down that French fighter with a nice trip.
Nice trip, and a French runner does get through, but he now has 2 people on him at the back of the field. Oh, look at that action. Just piling in.
Down, so it's all even again.
Absolutely, it is anybody's game, and
that's
1 for 1 again.
Yeah. 3 Spaniards, 4 Spaniards down, 3 French, 4 French.
Certainly, the French making a very aggressive start there. Boom! That poleaxe. That poleaxe gets taken down from behind.
I think France are starting to have an advantage in this. I think they might have a 2-fighter advantage, which is going to make things tougher. And here you have a charge.
There we go. You just saw the end of that charge, but the poleaxe does stay up, but at least he's not hitting the French guy's friend.
Wait,
Boom!
I
I do love to see those punches in the face. French fighter looking around. French fighters running about. Lots of French fighters.
It really is starting to tell on the Spaniards. I think now it's just a waiting game.
It is.
Gosh.
It is.
I think 4 Spanish fighters still up, 3 Spanish fighters up, 2 Spanish fighters up, 1 game stopped.
And stop fighter. We have our Polish marshal there, who was around yesterday at our camp with a nice bottle of Old Krupnik, which is I hear is a nice Polish liquor, and I do agree. Nice guy. And, good. All our marshals are just really top blokes and girls, keeping us safe. They're absolutely mad to be there unarmored in a field of 32 armored knights just running about. You really need to be aware of what's going on if you hope to keep yourself safe.
It's pretty tough work out there for the marshals. And a lot of time in these big fights they rely on the marshalling staff outside of the list.
Yeah. And we
to
have
see what's going on.
have a Spanish fighter who does get up with perhaps a little bit of difficulty, with some medics there trying to look at him, but it does look as more of an armor malfunction, or perhaps he caught an unfortunate poleaxe to the leg, seems to be limping a bit off, but
We do have one off screen who is being attended to by the medics. They are bringing in a stretcher to him, but I think it's just, by the looks of it, it's a knee problem. It's a very common when that amount of force is going on.
Oh, and I do apologize, there is another Spanish fighter down, being treated by paramedics to the left of the list.
But he's sitting up and he's responding, and like I say, I think it's just his knee.
Yeah,
Not a fun injury, but
no,
nothing we consider serious. It's part of the game, really.
It is a very active fight. There's lots of fighters, so obviously the more fighters you are, the more risk of injury you run, purely by statistical numbers.
And when you're just trying to stay up against
4 Frenchmen trying to whack you with their nice big axes of theirs, it's hard out there, folks.
Just trying to hold out until
help
get some
comes.
support. And yeah, they're taking off his leg armor, and are I think about to move him onto the stretcher.
Meanwhile, you're sort of seeing Captain America there with the Spanish team. Great camaraderie. Nice to see both those teams get along quite well.
And there's a French more or less ready for the next round.
Yeah, the French, I think, are just chilling out. They're really happy with that swung about victory in the second round. But yeah, as we've seen with a lot of fights today already, it's anybody's game. It's a very wet field. Anything could happen. Any mistake could cost anybody the match. So maybe it is a game of making the least mistakes.
Yeah, and with how close most of these teams are in terms of skill and ability, it really does come down to who makes the least mistakes.
And a little bit of luck as well, I think.
Yeah.
Where
there's no accounting for slipping and landing in the dirt.
Absolutely not. And certainly, it's all about being in the right place at the right time in a group battle sometimes, and making that decisive charge. But it did really look like
that Spanish fighter who they had the stretcher out from, but he's walking off the field. He's taking his leg armor off.
we can have applause from the crowd for the Spanish fighter, because he really gave it his all probably in the last round against France, which is great to see.
Probably his fighting done, but it's good to see that stretcher being taken away empty. We don't want to see anyone on stretcher.
No, we don't.
Even if you got an injury, you're still able to walk off the field.
Oh, just walk it off, mate. Yeah. There's nothing that beer can't fix, probably.
I think he's definitely earned a beer anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we saw a very aggressive play from France yesterday, where they just all really piled in, and I think took the initiative away from Spain in their second winning round. So can Spain bring that back for them?
The French team tend to be one of the heavier hitting ones historically over the last number of years. They tend to be a pretty brutal team.
They did, and they had a good run in the Sword and Shield yesterday, with one of their fighters taking the 3rd place medal.
Yeah, very impressive.
He's a very, very large chap. I wonder if he's out there today with his signed shield.
I can't spot him out there, but
I'm sure
so
he's
hard
there
to
somewhere.
tell.
Yeah, of course, everybody is... the only way you can tell fighters apart, really, is by their distinctive helmets, because they're all wearing the tabard of their team and their country. Sometimes fighters have individual shields, so you can tell them apart, but shields and helmet is really the only way. And there's, what, 4 or 5 types of helmets, maybe, tops?
And I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but I did have a very strange situation when I saw someone else wearing one of my fighter's armor. It was like seeing them wearing someone else's skin. It was a very strange experience. I got so used to seeing that helmet and that armor on a particular person, and then seeing the person standing next to his armor was a very strange experience.
Absolutely. Well, one of my friends, we won't tell who, but he's mentioned that while he does particularly appreciate how the female fighters look, he always finds it strange when they wear brutaches because it makes him look like Russians. And that really confuses him in some way or other. We won't say which.
The Spanish
And-
seem to be having a bit of a thicker line rather than a deeper formation rather than one line.
Yeah, and guy in the middle doing the come at me bro. This is the third come at me bro we saw today, which is always fun. Lots of shouting and communication between teams. Communication is key in a battle like this. You need to know what your buddies are doing because they need to guard your flank and your sides, and you need to work together. A little bit of baiting
on
there.
your fighters to watch your back.
A little bit of a push down the right, and a little bit of a clash. Nothing here or there.
About to connect on the left flank as well. They're just starting to trade blows, especially with the pole arms.
Polearm does have a little bit of a reach advantage.
The center still deciding whether to commit or not.
Absolutely. But this isn't quite as a compressed battles as you see in the other tournaments. It's still a very large list, and there are empty spaces. There is just less of them than there are in the 10
Well, I'd like to see room for fighters to maneuver.
Spanish fighter goes down on the right. There's just lots of people piling into each other.
I think I see at least 2 French down and 3 Spaniards.
French fighter gunning down a Polak's guy.
I think France are getting the numerical superiority.
I don't know, Brennan. 2 Frenchmen just went down on the right because
Changed
the
so quick.
Spanish Polacks did take down a couple of guys from behind.
Good charge from the Spanish.
Spain working that middle of the list quite well, and it's pretty even. There is a Spanish Polacks just hanging back in the top right corner, seeing what he can do.
He's about to commit.
French
There he
runner
goes.
running about doing his thing. He's just happy to be here. Look at him run like a little Energizer bunny.
But I think he might be a little bit late to get in there when needed.
Ooh, good sweep from one of the French on the side. We do have a lot of blue now. I think
it's 2 Spaniards, 3 Spaniards maybe.
I do think the French play the game a little bit better on the list than the Spanish, and they just got those 2-3 extra fighters down, and we had a lot of mutual takedowns too. So
I think
we have 4 guys up from Team France versus 1 fighter left from Spain, and France, I think, will take this win.
Yes, the Spanish, I think, tend to be better out in the open field, running and maneuvering. Certainly, over the last number of years, that's what I've seen.
Which is actually very, very good, because mostly it's the opposite for most teams, where most teams really like to stick to the sides of the list because they're stronger there. So I think Spain is stronger in the center field. But such a close series of matches. Spain won 1 round, France won 2. And lots of camaraderie, lots of fist pumping, hugs. Thugs and hugs, Brendan.
A lot of that all over the last 4 days. We did have a Spanish fighter who had their helmet come off during that fight. Not sure exactly what the incident was. Might have been a strap broke. Might have slipped up.
Anything could happen.
Luckily, no injuries.
And we want to see everybody go home safe by the end of the day. For those of you watching at home and liking the violence, this is a violent sport, but it is very, very safe. The armor is there to protect us. We're not trying to stab each other on the ground like in the olden days, or ransom each other prisoner to each other's families. If you down a fighter, their family has to buy them back from you.
So thankfully, going down in a fight here isn't going to cost you a year's earnings.
Absolutely, or a horse or anything. It just maybe dirts your tabard up a bit, and certainly if you've been down this round, you're gonna go just harder in the next one.
Victory in the match to France. USA and Poland.
Victory goes to France, as the announcer says. Caitlin there on the mic, dropping them sick beats of announcement. We have Poland versus USA, women's 3-on-3s. We thought we'd mix it up today a little bit for your viewing pleasure between the 16s and the 3s, so you don't get bored of watching the same thing over again. And it's not the same thing as we've seen. Team USA and Team Poland have done a very different thing in the last rounds, Brendan. Poland liked to play that little running game against Quebec. They're a very fast mobile team, whereas Team USA worked at the list. What do you think they'll do this round?
I wouldn't expect to see Poland trying to draw the American fighters out into the field and the Americans trying to get them onto the rails.
I think
So
you're
I've
quite
seen
right there.
before in other clashes between USA and Poland in men's categories, it's both teams trying to get them to fight the fight that suits them.
Absolutely, I do think whoever can take the initiative will be at an advantage. I do think US has that strength and size advantage over Poland, and Poland certainly are very mobile and very fast, and are a bit faster than the US, so we have a sort of a speed versus strength battle here, which is always interesting to see.
And it looks like the 3 American fighters are all using two-handed weapons.
I know, it's been great. They're
gonna be
like the
hitting hard.
Danish or something. And
They're
thugs and
aiming for
hugs. We do have quite a crowd here. Again, shouts of USA, USA, and I'm sure Polska is not far behind there.
No, and if I know the Polish, they'll be getting a bit of support going when they need it from the crowd with that flag
Absolutely.
bearer.
Poland, obviously, crowd favorites with their impressive uniforms and that big eagle banner.
They look good out there.
Is it an eagle on the Polish banner?
It is.
It is. I do believe it is an eagle. Birds. I'm not very good with the wildlife, so I can tell it's a big bird and it looks pretty angry, like the Polish fighters.
It kind of looks like it's just smashed into a windscreen and been flattened out. So
Don't say
I'd
that.
be
That's their national flag, man.
I'm sorry, Poland. I love your country. I was there last year and it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, Poland is absolutely fantastic. We love Poland. Poland's strong, as the internet would have us believe. For all of you folks watching at home, all the families of the fighters. And the fight starts. Both teams holding their center field on muddy.
The Americans seem to be moving towards that rail.
Yeah,
Sauntering
slowly creeping
us.
towards the rail, trying to draw the Polish towards the rail. US standing in a bit of a
And
V.
again, the Poles trying to draw the Americans out.
Yeah, they're not having that. We're not coming towards that list. You're big and strong, and you'll just throw us down.
I think this might have been the very first prediction I've gotten right all
Yeah.
tournament. I said that the Poles are wanting to come out into the centre of the field.
Absolutely, and USA is slowly creeping forward. USA has been, with the men's teams, playing the very tactical strategy mind games with their opponents with that crescent of doom formation yesterday.
There might be a moment here for the Americans to charge and push the Polish back onto that rail.
Absolutely, if they can just trap the Polish in that corner, that would be really advantageous, but it is a very slow-paced game here today, with both teams moving in unison, nobody breaking away. Sort of just a little dance off the V's. Nah, Polish trying to bait them with a shield clashing. Obviously, these fighters can look each other into the eyes, and there's a little bit of back and forth, and the Polish fighter goes, come on, fight me.
But there is just a big tactical game here going on. It's not just squaring off against each other.
Yeah,
like we've been saying, they both want to fight the fight that suits them.
Absolutely, and nobody wants to commit unless they are absolutely sure it is going to net them a down fighter from the opposition. They certainly do not want to...
Again, Poland are in the position that I think USA should be going for a charge.
Absolutely.
Back out of it.
But you never know. Poland might be acting, luring him. There we go, a little bit of a back and forth there. Sort of Polish team getting perhaps a little bit impatient and just trying to go in for the kill. So we've got 2 on the side. Camilla, I think, smashing in there.
A good switching up there from Polish fighter.
And Team USA is working that corner and working that list. I do think USA is an added advantage here. We've got a free Polish lady to get stuck in and try and push people, but USA does have the classical advantage of size, so we'll see what happens.
Difference. Just trying to push around a heavier weight than you is going to tire you out.
Absolutely, lots of leg hacking going on back and forth. USA, of course, did fight 4 rounds in their previous fight, and they were long fights, so endurance might be coming into play also, whereas Poland had a very quick 3 rounds.
And
oh!
2 down.
2? We have 3 down, I believe. We have a Polish fighter and 2 American fighters go down. Now we have that 2-on-1. Again, that American fighter did win a 2-on-1 in her previous fight.
Wow, that's got to be exhausting.
Stop fighter. Stop a fighter. Not resume a fighter. Just hacking him that legs. Iron sides there, trying to bravely hang in as she did in the previous round. Can she wear out her opponents and make them slip? And we generally allow hugging the rail for up to 3 seconds, but the marshals are just telling them to get off the rail because we want to see people fight and not hug the fence.
You can rest your arm up on the rail, but if it goes over the side of it, you have 3 seconds to remove it, or you can be sat down onto the ground.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, for repeated offenses, you do get yellow card. Like any sport, we do have rules. It isn't just people bashing each other up. And there are cards, there are yellow cards, red cards, and certainly one of the rules is you cannot hug the list for more than 3 seconds. Poland shouting encouragement to their fighters, or perhaps the best. Lots of leg hacking technique we see from the Polish fighters, just trying to break down that structure of the American lady.
And I think that American fighter is going to have to try and break out of that and do something. She's
gonna have to do something. That's for sure.
Punishment. But she's got no one coming to help her.
No, she is there all by herself, but never give up, never surrender, as the name of the game, and lots of hugging. She could try and attempt to take both of them down with her, or maybe push the Polish fighters over the fallen comrades. But the Polish girls are strong. Don't let their size fool you.
She's grabbed. She's trying to grab the Polish fighter in a headlock. She
lost her axe.
Dropped her weapon.
And she cannot actively fight the Polish fighter. She can do nothing but slowly try and creep back to her side of the list to be given another weapon. And I believe it might be all over.
I think they're gone to Poland, yeah.
I think the fight is stopped there because the American fighter gets disarmed, and they decide to stop the fight either by fighters' decisions or marshals' decisions because well, there's not a lot you can do when you don't have a weapon. You have two Polish fighters on you, sort of working away at your legs and your head.
Yeah, and
it's just gonna hurt.
If she was free to run back and get a weapon,
that would be fine.
Something, but
we did see, of course, Justin Harris, the New Zealand Stormtrooper at Battle of Nations, do a similar thing with two Czech fighters. He sort of crawled his way through half the list, so it's not impossible. I think he did get sent down because he just got bored and punched one of them in the face with his buckler, which is a little bit of a no-no. So I think that his little charge ended there. But it is certainly absolutely possible to crawl all the way up, but there would not be a lot of tactical advantage in that, I think, for the American fighter.
Oh, it's going to leave her completely exhausted.
Absolutely, and I do not know how many subs the Americans have. They are all so shiny, it's a little bit hard to keep track of who's who in those Clapvisor bassinets.
I think they have 4 fighters.
I do think they have 4 female fighters, and it's such a help to obviously have that substitute position. But again, we see these fights swing back and forth in the second round, and so will Poland be able to win this one, or will USA come back with a vengeance on this?
I think USA are going to want to try and well, they have to take this round if they want to stay in this.
Absolutely, I think they really do. And Poland, having just lost to Quebec, certainly do not want to lose to another North American nation.
No, they don't want to lose to anyone, really.
They're in it to win it.
Of their losses.
Absolutely.
But Quebec, I've been really impressed with their female fighters.
Absolutely.
All through this tournament.
Their female fighters are just absolutely top-notch and on form in this tournament. They've been training so hard for this.
And I know that at least 2 of them are very new, less than a year with any sort of experience in fighting in this.
So for you folks watching at home, you don't have to be a terribly experienced fighter. All you have to do is have the dedication to train and to put your everything into this very physical sport, and you can achieve great things if you just turn up and fight over and over again. Just train.
Dedication.
Fight. Absolutely. So if you think this looks cool, you may be a girl that's wanting to get into a physical sport, hit up your local club. We would love to see more female fighters for female 4-on-4s and 5-on-5s in the years to come. As the sport starts to grow more and more, we've had a big influx in the last couple of years of female fighters, which is fantastic to see.
The standard has just gone up massively as well.
Through the roof. These girls are all professional athlete standard. They've got great stamina, but they are looking about 20, 30 kilos of armor, which if you're a slightly lighter human being, is starting to take a bit of a toll. And your armor should ideally weigh about a third of you, wouldn't you say?
It's going to be around that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit less, or a little bit more depending on your layout.
Absolutely, and having lighter armor does help, but obviously it is a very personal preference. As you said, it is like your second skin, so if somebody wears your armor, it looks weird. Like they're wearing your skin. Yeah. Um, but of course, fighters do lend armor to each other a lot of the time, because everybody is super friendly, and we're having quite a bit of a break here as
They're ready to go.
ready to go. Poland's just been chilling out there in the back of the list. They're feeling confident and strong. And
Well, so all in the Americans' hands now. They're the ones who have to bring it in this round.
absolutely, they're gonna have to drag this out to 3 rounds. So, will they play an enduring game? Walking across the list, I wonder if they're heading towards the fence or the list.
Yep.
Poland dead center, on that little nice patch of sand that was used to cover up the mud from yesterday's carnage.
Just try and make the ground a little more stable.
Sort of destroying this castle one patch of grass at a time.
And the fighters committing a lot quicker in this round than the last round.
So
Well,
darting in and out, again, Poland using the probing game, trying to lull America out of their nice formation. I do think the Americans do like to work together a lot in their defensive formations. So, again, lots of debating, lots of the shield punching. Maybe she's just a drummer and she likes to tap stuff out onto her shield while she thinks. Ooh, and a side charge from the American, but it goes nowhere, unfortunately. The Polish fighter is still up. Now we have 2 Polish fighters and the American. American goes down, playing that wrestling game.
So early in the fight. And
Oh, another one on the knees. And the fight is stopped with 3-on-1. 3-on-1 fight stoppage rule is